G'day folks, Jeff here with my top 20 list of my favourite Aussie Metal EPs. Firstly, I want to say thanks for the responses to my top 20 Aussie Metal albums video. It's great seeing other people's lists and discussions of their favourites. And I should stress, these are just my personal favourites and not what I considered the best Aussie releases. Up next is my list of EPs, which is pretty diverse, although I must admit there's heaps of grind in there. We just have too many great releases. And some of these EPs are longer than the albums from the last video, but oh well. I've been enjoying making these top 20 lists, but I'm very eager for gigs to restart so I can get out and review them. Even though I've been going to gigs for 30 plus years, I still get a rush when I see a killer band live. A few weeks ago I should have been in the US attending Maryland Deathfest and seeing killer bands like Demolish, General Surgery and Butcher ABC. Sadly I'll have to wait for next year. I'm pleased that Canberra band Witch Skull recently played several very intimate dinner and a show gigs with only 10 people allowed, as it sounded like a fun time, plus it's a start back to normalcy. Anyway, here's a list of EPs. Enjoy. Number 20 is The Plague Doctors by Horrisonous. Horrisonous are a death metal band from Sydney with various members from Illimitable Dollar and Backyard Mortuary and many other bands. This is quality death metal with some nice slow bits and nasty raspy vocals from Yon. Favourite song's probably Engineering the Beast, which has some tough sounding riffs. Plus has a cover of the Killer Autopsy song Pagan Savior, which they certainly do justice to. And the Bandcamp has two other covers they recorded in the same session of Asphyx and Celtic Frost. Their album Culinary Cacophony is bloody excellent too, and well worth checking out. Number 19 is Multiversal Abattoir by Faceless Burial. Faceless Burial are a somewhat technical death metal band from Melbourne who've been around for 5 or so years, and in that time producing a demo, an album, and this killer EP. After a nice melodic intro, there's 4 tracks of churning death metal goodness. Think Blood Incantation Starspawn with less solos and more succinct songs. Now, I think it's that ability to condense their songs and not drag them out that works really well for them here, as well as live, as they certainly ripped when I saw them on tour with Necrot, which I reviewed in another video. Favourite songs are Piteous Sepulchre of Dementia and Fistulated Beyond Recognition, as both have steamroller riffs running throughout, and Fistulated has nice lead work. Also, the cover up by Xavier Irvine is as stunning as the first album. This is death metal done right, and I was very happy to see they just signed a deal with Dark Descent for their next album. Good work, lads. Number 18 is Fuck 'em Dead Split with Sanity's Dawn. This is my sneaky way of getting Fuck 'em Dead into the list, as they just missed out on the top 20 albums. This is the first Fuck 'em Dead release I heard, and it just blew me away with its intensity. Plenty of sharp riffs, insane high and low vocals, and stupidly fast drum machine action. I've always loved drum machine grind bands since I first heard Enemy Soil, Mortician, Agoraphobic Nosebleed, and Wadge, especially when they go faster than humanly possible. I used to think Fuck 'em Dead was inhuman until they added a real drummer who could somehow play that stuff live. This is just rabid stuff with some nice melody in the guitars occasionally, which adds another dimension to it. Highlight songs are Licky Webster and Toilet Tantalizers. Sanity's Dawn are a German band who sort of gory death grind in this era, and the tracks are great, but Fuck 'em Dead stuff blows them away really. Not sure how easy the split is to get, but the Fuck 'em Dead tracks are tacked on to the end of their Bring On the Dead album. Number 17 is Soil by Pod People. Pod People are a long-running doom band from Canberra. They showed quite a bit of promise on their previous EP, Swinging Beef, but I think they really hit their strides on Soil. Probably could have listened to this more over the years, but I used to see them live so much that I just got my pod fixed that way. And because of that, I hardly recognise the song Carmageddon. I think my favourite song is Rewind, which builds nicely, and I also love the rumbling bass on Pomegranate. Nice work, TD. As an added bonus, there's a cover of Christbait's song Swing with drummer Mags on completely over-the-top vocals, which brings back nice memories of his regurgitations with old Canberra band Slug, who may very well get a mention in my next top 20 demos list. Good luck tracking down an original of this, as it was self-released, but their Bandcamp has most of their releases, and I'd also recommend checking out their 2 albums. Number 16 is Dildo Detention by Vaginal Carnage. They're an amusing gore grind band from Melbourne who only produced this EP and a demo before that. This EP is short as hell, but it's full of catchy songs with hilarious samples, super tight drumming, and great high and low vocals, somewhat in the vein of Gush. That Clean Those Knickers sample is my favourite. She's such a bogan Aussie accent. I only got the chance to see them live once, which was awesome, but sadly it was their final gig as singer Chris died the next day. They were supposed to tour Tasmania and also play Canberra a month later, but instead there were several tribute gigs a month later as he was well loved in the community. Good luck tracking this down, and I can't find a Bandcamp with them on it, so I've listed a few YouTube clips below. Number 15 is Nuclear Storm by Destruktor. This is some blistering Black Death speed from Bendigo's Destruktor. After a nice mellow intro, it's lulled you into a false sense of security. Fight Like a Devil kicks in with a bloody fury. The rest of the EP just doesn't let up. Title track's probably my favourite, with great mix of ripping, blasting sections, slightly slower chorus, and then a closing headbanger of a riff. Jarro's drumming is great on this and just never lets up, giving it a hell of a lot of energy. I remember when most of this lineup played with Toxic Holocaust when they toured Australia in 2005, and the songs live are just about double the speed of the CD. It wasn't really a surprise considering how speedy this EP is. This is a fancy etched disc version, which I actually bought in New York of all places at the old Hospital Records, along with another Aussie record by Anatomy. Bloke obviously had good taste. Number 14 is the self-titled by Martire. This is fast, twisting black death metal from South Australia. This is just shredding in a similar way to Satis on their Illusions album, or Possessed at their fastest. Very little respite from intense speed. This is a prime example of why Aussie metal has a reputation for producing just uncompromisingly furious music. The vocals are hellish too, especially on the song Apocalypse. They played Canberra once, but foolishly I didn't go. Idiot. So I have no idea what they were like live, although I think the band's still going as they finally put out an album in 2012, which rules too. This original CD might be a bit tricky to get, but thankfully the good folks at Nuclear War Now have reissued this on CD and LP, so check it out. Number 13 is a Warsore split with Gorbion Necropsy. This is a split between Melbourne legends Warsore and one of my favourite Japanese bands, Gorbion Necropsy. Both play raw as hell grindcore and cover a song by each other on this pretty damn brief EP. Warsore stuff on this actually sounds decent for once, as a lot of their other releases are low-fi to say the least. Highlight for me is always Den's vocals, which range from manic screams to deep growls. The Gorbion tracks on this sound pretty much like every other Gorbion Necropsy, i.e. raw and bloody awesome. Certainly not for people who like clean or even audible production. I'm still pissed I never saw Warsore live, and even more pissed that I missed when they played with Gorbion Necropsy in Melbourne, and I didn't find out until a few weeks later. Damn it. Number 12 is The Final Wish by Avrigus. This is a bit of a change of pace from my usual blasting and screaming choices. Avrigus are a luscious gothic doom band with mostly female vocals, consisting of Simon Brewer and, for this EP, Judy Chiara on vocals and keys. Simon was the vocalist of and keyboardist for Death Doom as Cruciform during my favourite period of theirs, and also with their reunion for a while. This is a great mix of ethereal melodies and sorrowful doom, somewhat in the vein of old Third and Immortal. Highlight songs are As Ivy Groweth Green, where Judy's voice is pushed high to great effect, and Flesh, which was re-recorded for their Secret Kingdom album, which is also worth tracking down. I think they're still going as they released a digital signal in 2017. Don't worry, back to the horrible stuff now. Number 11 is Ripped from V2A by Pigeon Die. These blokes were pure beautiful gore grind with tough riffs and gurgly pitch-shifted vocals, which I just love. There's some monstrous grooves on this CP, and for some reason a widdly-diddly guitar solo, which strangely works. Think Hymns era Last Days of Humanity meets Bile for comparison. I also love the weird cover art by Xavier Irvine, which is just bizarre, and I'm kind of glad I don't know what's going on in it. Not sure if they're still around, as the last thing they did was a Japanese tour in 2015. All the brothers on this, and Jack and Sam are now in Doubled Over. And Leo is the mastermind behind Metal Ulcer, which is even nastier and gurglier and bloody awesome. Might be a bit tricky getting the CD of this, but digital link is below, so if you like your grind thick and guttural, check it out. Number 10 is Tellurian Insurgency by Ploughshare. Ploughshare are a newish Canberra band who play a hellish, chaotic fusion of black and death metal. Think dissonant black death similar to Trinity-era Deathspell Omega, with several different vocal styles, including an anguished screaming style that reminds me of Weakling. Indistinguishable Beast of Flight is probably my favourite song here. The third song is a remix of the title track from their excellent album In Awful Salvation that's been fiddled with by Andy Nolan from Shank, Endless Blockades and Intensive Care. Fourth song is mostly electronic and has a slight Ulva feel, but with swirly, shouty vocals over the top. I like stuff like Skinny Puppy, so I'd enjoy more like this. Can't wait for gigs to restart again so I can watch these chaps more often as they kill it live. Number 9 is Yeast by Bloodduster. This is the first release with Finn on guitar, and certainly has more groove, much like the following album straight out of Northcote. Shout of Affection Part 2 is 29 seconds of groovy bliss, and it and Northcote are my favourite songs here, mostly due to the crazed, fast, slow bits. It was around this era I first started singing them live at this charmingly fly-eyed gig, which is bloody awesome. Plus, of course, the EP has a horrible cover of a poor person with syphilis, I believe. And, of course, being a mature person, I own a t-shirt of this, which I used to wear nearly as much as my Bloodduster Hippie Guild Team shirt. Great band. Number 8 is Insidious by Misery. This is a follow-up to their killer and Necessary Evil album, and I think they're only released with vocalist Moises from Sakuth and Mausoleum, who had a great, clear, heavy voice. Pretty sure he played with them at the first Metal for the Brain appearance in '93, as I remember thinking he looked like a death metal Ronnie James Dio, but with spiked gauntlets and slightly deeper voice. This EP is 4 songs of stellar death metal with plenty of chunky slow sections and more great solos. Fingun's Adele lyrics are in Spanish, which gives it that more sinister feel in the classic, I don't know what they're saying, but it must be something nasty style. They made 2 awesome film clips for this EP, which were released on video cassette, which I've never managed to track down. However, they're on YouTube, so the links are below. This was part of the Evil Reborn CD compilation that came out a few years ago, and it's also released on this spiffy 12-inch by The Crypt, who look to still have some for sale, so check it out. Number 7 is the self-titled EP by Captain Cleanoff. This is actually the compilation CD, as I'm just too lazy to dig the original CD out of a box. I gotta say, these guys are pretty much the catchiest grind band around, and this EP is my favourite of theirs. Singer Ben has great screams, and on this he has a good contrast with gruff growls, which are a bit lacking on later albums. Drummer Murray is a maniac too, with tight blasts and plenty of party tricks. Highlights for me are older songs Rotting and Adidas, which I think were on their demo. I have fond memories of when them and Fuck 'Em Dead played at the final Metal for the Brain festival in the bar, and the crowd just went berserk for both bands. I've rarely seen a mosh that violent. This was compiled along with their earlier 7 inches on the Discography 98 to 2001 CD, which is well worth tracking down, as those 7 inches are bloody crackers too. Awesome band. Number 6 is Black Seed by Nazxul. This is a few years after their debut Totem, and shows them shedding their death metal bits and ramping up the epic keyboard action, which is somewhat reminiscent of In the Night Side Eclipse by Emperor. First song Vow of Vengeance is one of their better known songs, and for good reason, as it sounds massive, with slow black metal and majestic choirs and a rolling tempo that just works perfectly. The other 3 songs are faster, with Apostasies, Legions Arise, Zool! My favourite, with some nicely sinister melodies. New vocalist Mort is adequate, but a bit less feral than Dalibor. Not sure if this is still in print, but it's on the Science Records Bandcamp, which is listed below. Number 5 is Soundtrack to Your Violence by The Kill. These guys could easily have made the album video, but this EP is my favourite release of theirs. Absolutely shredding grind with ridiculously fast drumming, razor sharp riffs, and a whole lot of screaming. I think this is the only time that they had both screamed and growled vocals from drummer Jay and Tony from Bloodduster, and it works great. Although I do love Nick's Ocker Aussie accent on Kill Them All album. Favourite songs are the awesomely titled Tracksuit Pants and Thrash and We Want Blood, and the charmingly titled Fuck Emo. One of my favourite times seeing them live was in New York, where they played with Cripple Bastards, Noisy, Shitstorm and Magruder Grind. All the other bands were on fire and great, but Kill just completely levelled them, and I could see locals in the crowd just astonished at the whirlwind. Probably the most intense grind to come out of Australia, I reckon. Number 4 is Eve of the War by Alchemist. This EP features Alchemist's cover from the War of the Worlds soundtrack by Jeff Wayne. They've melded it up quite a bit, but all melodies are easily recognisable, and they really did do it justice. The song was a bit of a hit for Alchemist, and was a live staple for the rest of their career. I've also linked the video clip below, so check it out. 2 live tracks are from a gig in the Gypsy Bar in Canberra, and certainly bring back memories of no doubt sweaty circle washes. It's a shame there's no heckling from the crowd, as plenty used to occur in those days. It was quite noisy. 4th song's a remix of Yoni Kunda, and to be truthful, it's just hilariously bad. In the same way as the remix of Pungent Stench's Blood, Pus and Gastric Juice, with way too much growled vocals over dance beats. Sorry to the band and Chalk, but that song really sucks. The last 2 songs are remastered tracks from their first album, Jar of Kingdom, and are 2 of the longer and more intricate songs, with Worlds Within Worlds being especially good. CP is long out of print, but most of the songs are on the Embryonics compilation, so check it out. Number 3 is Rodent Also by Beanflipper. Beanflipper are an odd sort of band from Melbourne who successfully straddled both rabid hardcore and chunkier slower metal. 2 guitarists are also in magnesite, and shows here, as it really has a similar combination of catchiness and intensity. Their albums have more slower songs, but CP only has 1, and the remaining songs are pretty bloody vicious, really. Well, especially All My Lovin'. First song, Scuzz, is my favourite, and I've provided a YouTube link below to the whole song, as well as their 2 albums. Everything bar the stupid final experimental track rules, though the attempted clean singing and fucking life is a bit iffy. I remember when they supported Napalm Death in Canberra, and my mate Mark was stoked to see one of them scavenging food out of a bin. True punk. None of their stuff seems to be in print anymore, so Discogs might be your best bet. Number 2 is Passive Backseat Demon Engines by Damaged. This is my favourite Damaged release, as it's short, raw and super energetic. First 2 songs are some of Damaged's best, with killer riffs, rapid fire vocals, time changes galore, and of course, berserker drumming from Skits. 3rd song's a backwards masked cut-up version of the 4th song, Extra Mild, which has been extended from the original, Ultra Mild. There's nothing mild about it. I quite enjoy backwards stuff, as it just sounds bizarre, and Misery were good at that, with the whole Revel in Blasphemy album reversed for the final song. Plus the cover of Bathory's classic Equimanthon is just awesome. It's Damaged ramped up the already decent speed of the original, and Jamie's vocals work really well on it. The reissue of this, combined with the first album, is still available from Rotten Records, along with the other 2 Damaged albums, so check out the link below. One of Australia's best. Number 1 is, you guessed it, Mysterium by Armoured Angel. Canberra metal in the late 80s, early 90s was ruled by the twin Marshall stack heavy assault of Armoured Angel. Just look at those tight jeans. It was a tough call on which of their EPs is my favourite, and there's only slightly edged out predecessor Stigmata. This was the second last release of the classic Green Luck Green lineup, and it was them at their heaviest. This is like a rumbling tank of mostly mid-paced death metal. Deep but clear throaty vocals. Highlights for me are Myth of Creation and Enigmatize, which lumber along at mid-era bolt thrower pace. Hair to Evil and Carved in Sin crank up the speed a bit, although Carved changes to a massive, monstrous, slower section that's just killer. I'll put a link below to their awesome field clip to Enigmatize, which is just metal as hell, and filmed at old Canberra Brickworks. Thankfully, the band compiled the 3 demos and 2 EPs from this era onto one CD called Hymns of Hate. It's well worth tracking down. And I'll put a link below. I have a sneaking suspicion that one of their demos will make my top 20 demos list. Essential. So, thanks for watching, and I'll put links in the description to places to listen to or buy, although some are old and obscure and out of print, so they might be a bit tricky to find. Up next is my favourite 20 Aussie metal demos, so keep an eye out for that. Once again, feel free to post your own lists in the comments, and please subscribe. Cheers. Tablets, stone, gone, dear.